Most people think becoming wealthy means buying expensive cars, flying business class, or posting pictures from Dubai on Instagram. But real wealth looks much quieter than that. Because the biggest financial flex in the world is waking up and realizing you no longer need to panic about money. There's a point where money completely changes behavior. A point where life stops feeling like survival and starts feeling like freedom. And surprisingly, that point is not when you become famous, not when you make six figures, not even when your salary doubles. It happens when your investments become powerful enough to work harder than you do. And once that happens, the entire game changes. Most people think wealth grows in a straight line, like $10,000 is good, $100,000 is 10x better, $1 million is just another bigger number. But money doesn't work like that. At certain levels, the rules completely change. And one of the biggest financial turning points in life is reaching $1 million invested. Not earned, not net worth on paper, actually invested, actually producing income. Because at that point, you stop depending only on yourself, and your money starts carrying part of the load. That changes everything psychologically. Let me explain. Imagine someone with $10,000 invested. At around 7% yearly returns, that money generates roughly $700 a year. Helpful? Sure. Life-changing? Not even close. Now imagine $50,000 invested. That's about $3,500 yearly. Better, but your job is still your entire survival system. Now here's where things become unfair. At $1 million invested, 7% yearly returns become around $70,000 per year, without clocking in, without asking permission for vacation, without commuting, without a boss texting you on your day off. Think about how insane that actually is. Your investments begin generating more income than many full-time workers while you sleep, while you eat, while you travel, while you spend time with family. That's the moment where money stops being storage and becomes a machine. And most people never realize this is the actual goal, because society trains people to focus on income instead of ownership. We celebrate salaries, not assets. But wealthy people understand something most workers never fully realize. Income can stop instantly. Assets keep producing. That's why two people making the exact same salary can end up in completely different realities. One person spends everything trying to look rich, the other quietly buys assets. Years later, one still works for money, the other owns systems that generate it automatically. That's the difference. And once you cross that investment threshold, your brain starts changing too. When you're building your first savings, your mindset is simple. Earn more, save more, repeat. Every dollar matters. Every expense feels important. You're trying to grow. But once your investments become large enough, the focus shifts. Now the question becomes, how do I protect this? How do I optimize this? How do I make this sustainable forever? You stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like an owner. That mental shift is massive, because workers rely on effort, owners rely on systems, and systems scale infinitely better than effort ever can. But here's the weird part nobody talks about. Having more invested money actually changes how you experience risk. When someone with $20,000 invested sees the market drop 10%, they lose $2,000. Painful, but survivable. Now imagine someone with $1 million invested. That same 10% drop becomes $100,000. Suddenly, the numbers stop feeling abstract. And this creates a completely different kind of stress, because your portfolio can swing more in 1 week than some people earn in an entire year. That sounds terrifying at first, but something interesting happens. Wealthy investors stop seeing downturns as disasters. They start seeing them as discounts. Because when your basic life is already financially stable, temporary drops stop feeling like threats and start looking like opportunities. That's one of the biggest mindset differences between wealthy people and everyone else. Most people panic during crashes. Wealthy people prepare for them because they finally have enough breathing room to think long term. And that breathing room changes your relationship with work, too. This is huge. Most people work from fear. Fear of bills, fear of losing income, fear of falling behind, fear of not surviving. But when your investments can theoretically support your lifestyle, you stop operating from desperation. And desperation affects every decision humans make. When you're desperate, you tolerate toxic jobs, bad bosses, low salaries, terrible schedules, because survival comes first. But financial independence changes your posture completely. You negotiate differently. You think differently. You take smarter risks because now you actually have options. And options are one of the most powerful forms of wealth in existence. Maybe you want to start a business. Before, that felt impossible. Now, your investments create a safety net. Maybe you want to leave a stressful career. Now you can. Maybe you want more time with family, more freedom, more peace. Now those choices become realistic. That's why money is really about control over time, not luxury. Time. Because time is the one thing humans can never replace. And ironically, most people sacrifice all their time chasing money without realizing the end goal was supposed to be freedom in the first place. This is also why wealthy people start valuing their hours differently. When you're broke, free time feels expensive. You constantly think, I should be working, I should be making money, I'm wasting time. But once investments produce meaningful income, your perspective flips. Now your time becomes more valuable than chasing extra dollars. That's when people start working less, traveling more, choosing healthier lifestyles, pursuing meaningful projects, because money finally becomes a tool instead of a survival requirement. And here's where the financial system becomes almost unfair. The more money you already have, the easier it becomes to make even more. Most people hate hearing this, but it's true. Banks treat wealthy people differently. Investment opportunities become different. Access becomes different. When someone has no assets, everything feels harder. Loans are harder. Business opportunities are harder. Investing is harder. But once someone has substantial investments, doors start opening automatically. Suddenly, banks want to lend to you because capital attracts opportunity. This is why wealthy people grow wealth exponentially faster after a certain point. Their money starts creating momentum, and momentum is insanely powerful financially. The first 100,000 is brutal. The first million is difficult. But after that, compound growth starts accelerating aggressively. Imagine earning 8% annually on $1 million. That's $80,000 in growth, without additional labor, without overtime, without working weekends. That's more than many people save in years. This is why the second million often arrives much faster than the first, because eventually your investments begin contributing more than your own effort. And once that happens, the game changes permanently. But there's another side nobody warns people about. More wealth does not automatically remove anxiety. Sometimes it creates new anxiety, because now there's more to protect. A 5% drop on a small portfolio feels annoying. A 5% drop on $1 million means losing $50,000. That can mess with people psychologically. Many new wealthy investors become obsessed with checking their accounts, refreshing apps constantly, watching market swings every hour, because now the numbers feel huge. This is why many wealthy people slowly become more conservative over time, not because they stop believing in growth, but because protecting capital becomes more important than chasing extreme returns. When you have little money, you need aggressive growth. When you already have enough, preservation matters more. That's another huge mindset shift. You stop asking, how can I get rich fast? And start asking, how can I stay financially free forever? Completely different mentality. And maybe the biggest transformation of all is how wealth changes your future decisions. Without financial stability, every mistake feels dangerous. Every risk feels terrifying. But when your investments generate income consistently, life becomes less fragile. You can survive mistakes. You can recover from setbacks. You can take opportunities that other people are too afraid to touch. And this creates confidence. Not fake social media confidence, real confidence. The kind built from knowing you're not one paycheck away from disaster. That changes how people speak, how they negotiate, how they walk into rooms, because financial pressure affects human behavior far more than people realize. And eventually, wealth stops being about buying things. It becomes about buying peace, buying time, buying freedom, buying options. That's why truly wealthy people often look surprisingly normal. Because once you understand how valuable freedom is, you stop caring about impressing strangers. You care about protecting your lifestyle, protecting your family, protecting your peace. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all. The goal was never money itself. The goal was reaching a point where money stops controlling your life. That's the real transformation. The moment your investments begin working harder than you do, everything changes.